Can you have a conversation with anybody today without getting angry? Without it turning into an argument? A shouting match? It's really hard. There's so much yelling going on. There's so much, yeah, yelling going on. Nobody's listening. And I don't know where it started and I don't know how it started. But it seems we've gotten to a point where yelling at each other seems to be determined as leverage, power. I don't know what else to call it. And maybe it's that way because when you start yelling at somebody, a lot of people don't want to yell back. A lot of people don't want to get into an argument, and so they don't. They don't say anything. They shut up, which gives you, the yeller, perceived power over them because they have given up. They've given in to what you say, which is not the case. And so it's resulted in a society where we just yell at each other. And maybe we don't yell, maybe we just beat each other down by being angry at what you say. If I yell louder than you, then I'm right. The problem is, nobody's right. Everybody's wrong. To a point. Everybody thinks the world is black and white. That I'm right and you're wrong. Doesn't matter what the issue is, I'm right and you're wrong. Well, the person you're arguing with thinks the world is black and white and you're wrong and they're right. Truth of the matter is, the world is pretty gray. There are a few things that are absolutes. A few. Some absolutes just need to be in place. Stop sign means stop. You need to stop. You're going to get run over. You're going to run over somebody. Even people don't believe that. They're willing to argue over that. But most issues in our lives, most issues today, are mostly gray. They're not black and white. And if you really, really, really want to make a change in this world, we need to stop yelling at each other. We need to stop arguing with each other, and we need to start listening to each other. Now, at this point, when we start listening to each other, you're going to have to listen to the yelling. You're going to have to listen to the person proclaim that they're right, unless there's an agreement that both of you are right and both of you are wrong. Let's start there. And let's then shut up and listen to the other person. Because once you listen, once you get past the anger, the you don't hear me, the anger that you've been mean to me, the anger that you've discriminated against me, whatever, and get to the issues, they're usually issues of the heart, they're issues of belief, and a lot of times it's issues of disbelief. We believed that what you thought about me wasn't true. The belief that you thought about how I feel about you, how I believe about you, really isn't true if we stop and listen and hear where everybody's coming from and hear the heart that everybody's talking from instead of the anger, because today we get to be angry, which equates to power. If you own a business or you work in a job and your customer comes in the store and you start yelling at the customer and telling them what they're going to buy today and telling them what they did wrong coming in the store and telling them why they need to spend their money in your place or whatever it is, they're going to turn around and walk out and they're going to give you business. And it's not that you won, it's not that you have power over the customer, it's that they're not going to deal with you. And that's why we see the angry violence in the country today, not because they've got all the power, it's because people have walked away and are not going to have the conversation. And that's sad, because it rolls up to the political leaders, the leaders of our cities and communities and businesses, to have those conversations, to call those people out and say, no, this isn't right, let's sit down and talk about it. But instead, we'd rather walk away and avoid it. And when you avoid the problem too long, what happens? More anger, more violence. It gets worse and worse and worse until finally you are forced to deal with it. Politicians today yell at each other because they perceive it to be, that's how they have their power. Because they don't know how to sit down and talk to each other. They don't know how to sit down and listen to each other. Your political leaders would rather tell you what to think instead of listening and understanding what you think. Because if they tell you what to think, then they have power over you. And that's not the way. They're there to serve us. They're elected to serve us. So when are we going to take that back? It's up to us to decide. It's time we stopped yelling at each other. It's time we stopped arguing with each other. It's time we started listening to each other. So I titled this for today, Shut Up and Listen. And you don't need to listen to me. If you get in arguments with people about what you believe and what they believe and why you're right and why they're wrong, it's time for you to maybe shut up and listen to their heart. Find out why they believe what they believe. And if it's a real serious issue, and yeah, you kind of have to be willing to acknowledge that there are serious issues that we have been willing to avoid discussions, maybe we should talk about them. Because just telling people they're wrong isn't going to solve any problems. Telling people you're right isn't going to solve any problems. Yelling, arguing, destroying things isn't going to solve any problems. Eventually, we have to sit down and talk about it. So, this is your Saturday survival. If you want to survive the future, it's time for somebody to be bold enough to stand up and shut up and listen. And then do something about it. Once you get through the anger and once you can find the heart, do something about it. Make a change. Solve the problem instead of creating and extending the problem. I'm Mark Schinner talking to you from the porch today. Be the bigger person and shut up and listen. Have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.